Governor Winter was a real leader on the commission and in the recovery effort, as I knew he would be, because he loved Mississippi. From the coast to the Memphis suburbs, Jackson or Hattiesburg or Starkville or Oxford. Since I was an early striver in the Republican Party in Mississippi, some of you will be surprised by one of my favorite William Winter stories. Sometime before the filing deadline to run for governor in 1979, I was flying to Washington through Memphis. You actually could, we had direct air service to Memphis back then. As I was sitting in my seat, William Winter came up the aisle of the plane, stopped, asked if I'd come back and sit by him once we took off. Sure. When I got back to where he's sitting, I sat down and we exchanged pleasantries. He's always very, very gracious and nice to me. Then he told me he was thinking about running for governor again. Even though I was a Republican political operative, he asked me if I thought he ought to do it. Even though I was a Republican political operative, I told him what I thought. And I thought he was the Democrat who'd make the best governor if the state elected another Democrat. Quite a possibility, since the Democrats have elected every governor since Reconstruction. That is, for more than 100 years in a row, the Democrats have won the governorship. But, you know, I don't want to take any chances. We Republicans didn't elect a governor until 12 years later, when Kirk Fordyce was elected. So that day on the airplane, I told him he ought to run. Sometime later, Governor Winter told me he thought about my answer and decided I was being honest. Of course, my advice isn't what convinced him to run, but I always felt like it gave him more confidence in me as we went through political trails in the future. Marcia and my fondness for the Winter thinking extended to Mrs. Winter. Ms. Winter cared about the trustees who worked at the governor's mansion, and she tried to help them, such as helping them find jobs when they were released. Marcia had the same attitude. When I pardoned the final group of inmates who worked at the governor's mansion, Marcia did something similar. She knew that to get and hold a job, they needed to have a car to get back and forth to work. She set up car financing at a bank for all the pardoned inmates. When they bought a car, as every one of them did, she guaranteed the note at the bank. And I'm proud to say all but one of them paid off the note, paid her back. But they all went to work, which is what we wanted them to do.
Good afternoon. My name is Reuben Anderson, and I'm honored to be a part of this tribute to my dear friends, William and Elise Winter. Governor Winter was a hero of mine, and I miss him deeply, as we all do. Governor Winter and I shared a passion for our state's history. Anybody that would serve on the board of trustees of any institution for 50 years had a commitment. We would not be in these buildings today but for Governor William Winter. He leaned on everybody. He started with this young man here and wouldn't cut him loose until you promised to build these buildings. Governor Winter also shared a commitment to change the state flag. And he was on my mind when I accepted the old flag on the day that it flew for the last time over our state capitol. That flag would never have come down had Governor Winter not started in the early 80s to bring to everybody's attention that the damage that that flag was doing to our state. It took some courage too. The courage of our Speaker, Mr. Gunn, and our Lieutenant Governor, Haley, Deborah Hoseman. Thank you, gentlemen. Today, I'm deeply honored to introduce President Bill Clinton, who's actually...
Bill and Elise loved serving here for so long. Thanks to Pamela Jr. for the important word here, and I love the tour I got. You know you're getting old when you see people in the exhibitions who are old friends of yours. It's probably more important than term limits to convince people to hang it up, you know. In this case, it was an honor. I actually met Fannie Lou Hamer as a boy. Merle is an old friend of mine. And there are many others, but I love seeing William Winter and Elise in any pictures. When I ran for governor in the late 70s, I already knew quite a bit about Bill Winter, because back then, President Carter had just been elected few years earlier, but there was to be a Southern governor then, it was basically about what you saw in the film. You tried to make the schools better, rustle up a few more jobs, and do the right thing on civil rights. Try to open the doors so that we were all more or less on an even footing, and we knew there was a long way to go, and you had to start in the schools. Maybe we were even too optimistic about all the economic benefits that would flow if we could equalize educational opportunities. But we believed it. Nobody more than William Winter. When I got elected, he was there, then I wasn't. Thanks to guys like Haley, I got beat in the Reagan landslide in 1980. And then I got reelected. And my last 2 years coincided with Bill's term, and we were neighbors and so much more. I thought he was the luckiest guy. First of all, you couldn't exactly tell in these old pictures. Elise Winter, if you'll forgive me, God, for being incorrect, was a beautiful woman when she was young. She was so beautiful and in such a nice way, you know, and Anne, Lily, Eleanor, all the assembled spouses, children, grandchildren. You come from remarkable grandparents who had the most unusual balance. They were highly intelligent, highly energetic, and openly ambitious, and as good as gold. I was 20 years younger than they were when we started doing all that stuff. And a lot of young people probably wish they could have kept up with Bill when he was jogging the streets in his 80s. So the ultimate lesson of their lives is that how your lives turn out, assuming you don't have a terrible piece of bad luck, is largely a function of how you decide to keep score. And we're all the time keeping score on ourselves. And it's not like playing golf when nobody's looking. You can't just kick the ball back in the fairway. If you're keeping score on yourself, you know what the deal is. And they did. And I said, I'm perfectly happy to stay here. Just you guys get the show on the road. And so then he proceeded to tell me why that was a dumb idea. And then he said, look, this is a really pretty speech you're giving. You just remember, they got to have somebody at every election. We're going to feed them you. We're going to do it early. Your life will be over. Don't do this. Nobody talked to me like that since my next door neighbor had thrown a rope on the ground when I was 10 years old, when she got a BB gun before I did and said, if you step over that rope, I'll shoot you. I thought about it because she passed away just about 2 weeks ago. And I stepped over the rope, she shot me, and we became friends for life. Life makes funny friendships in funny ways. All I know is from the minute I met Bill Winter, I never had a scintilla of doubt that whatever happened in our friendship, whatever happened in his life, I was with one of the most authentic people I would ever know. That he was who he seemed to be. Then when I met Elise, I realized how he had sustained 2 losses for governor and many other setbacks and still found happiness. It's really important, you know, to do the right thing. But if you reach my age, you realize it's also important, if you can, to have a good time when you're doing it. I got up this morning and I was talking to Hillary on the way out the door, and she said, God, they have a beautiful governor's mansion. And she said, tell them, take them the evidence that you're not just making a speech about that. So I brought this. Governor and Mrs. William Winter, 1980-1984. In this limited edition of 100, the number of this box is 10. So how long ago was that? Almost 40 years, right? I was here. It was the end of their term and the beginning of my second go-around, and I was here. I thought I had died and gone to heaven, spending the night in the Mississippi Governor's mansion. You know, all of us hillbillies from across the river, we always felt kind of low rent compared to the planter class. But anyway, I got this 38 years ago. And it is in our living room with a few other things that we mark the passage of our life with. I marked the passage of our lives with this because I was so blessed to know a person who was truly good, truly great, and truly fun. And I may have had some small role in what he later did in racial reconciliation, because I asked him to join the race commission that I established in my second term. And the great black historian from North Carolina, John Hope Franklin, was the chairman of it, and also an amazing man. And they were great. I told Bill, I said, between the two of you, you'll probably keep the younger ones from just gnawing each other to death. And they were great. They showed you how to do right, how to unearth the past without destroying people's feelings and dignity, and make a beginning that is new.